Gentlemen, what if I told you that 97% of women in a recent study reached orgasm within just 6 minutes when their partner used one specific entry and thrusting technique? Not 15 minutes, not half an hour, 6 minutes. And the men in this study weren't in their 20s. Most were over 50, just like many of you. I know what you're thinking. That sounds too good to be true. You've probably spent years believing that declining sexual performance is inevitable with aging. Maybe your erections aren't as firm. Maybe intimacy has become less frequent because you're both frustrated with unsatisfying results. But here's the truth most men never discover. The issue isn't your age, your testosterone, or even how hard your erections are. The real problem is technique. Specifically, how you enter and how you move once inside. Get this wrong, and you'll leave her disappointed or uncomfortable. Get it right, and she'll be initiating intimacy, pulling you back into the bedroom, thinking about you all day long. I'm Dr. Lila Romano, a practicing urologist for over a decade, specializing in helping men over 50 reclaim their sexual confidence. Today, I'm revealing the exact 5-step technique that makes female orgasm almost inevitable, even if you've struggled with performance issues or it's been months or years since she consistently reached climax. By the end of this video, you'll understand why men who master this technique often become better lovers after 50 than they ever were in their 30s. Now let's talk about the single biggest mistake men make with thrusting. Starting too hard, too fast, and too deep from the beginning. You've seen this everywhere in movies and adult content. Penetration happens and immediately it's aggressive and intense. You might assume that's what women want because that's what gets portrayed as passionate. But here's what's actually happening in her body that makes this approach uncomfortable or even painful. Women's bodies take significantly more time to warm up than yours. During arousal, specific physical changes must happen before her body is ready for deep penetration. Blood flow to her pelvic region needs to increase dramatically. Her vaginal canal lengthens through the tenting effect, expanding by 2 to 3 inches. Natural lubrication increases. The pelvic floor muscles relax and soften, and her cervix lifts away from the vaginal opening. These changes take 10 to 15 minutes. This isn't a switch that flips instantly. It's a gradual, biological process. So when you start thrusting hard and deep immediately, you're asking her system to handle something it's not ready for. The result? Discomfort, sometimes pain. And she might not tell you. She doesn't want to hurt your feelings, feels uncomfortable speaking up, or thinks this is just how sex is supposed to feel. This gets even more challenging for men over 50. If you're concerned about maintaining your erection, you might feel pressure to rush, thinking you need to finish before losing hardness. But that urgency creates a negative cycle. She doesn't enjoy it. Intimacy becomes less frequent. Your anxiety increases. And if your partner is also over 50, her body needs even more time. Hormonal changes mean less lubrication and longer arousal periods. The rushed approach that maybe worked when you were younger doesn't work now. But here's what changes everything. When you start slow and give her body the time it needs to fully relax and open up, what would have been uncomfortable becomes intensely pleasurable. When you eventually build to deeper, harder thrusting, it feels incredible instead of painful. This isn't about being timid. It's about understanding how arousal works. Slow doesn't mean boring. Slow means strategic. Before I show you exactly how to do this right, let me share why you should trust what I'm about to teach you. A study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine analyzed over 1,000 couples and found women whose partners used varied tempo and clitoral stimulation during penetration were 3.2 times more likely to reach orgasm than those whose partners used only standard thrusting. That's the difference between her rarely climaxing and climaxing almost every time. Research from the Kinsey Institute shows only 18% of women can orgasm from penetration alone. But when you add clitoral stimulation during penetration, that number jumps to 76%. Most men are ignoring the one thing that would make orgasm possible for their partners. The first technique is the foundation for everything else. The slow entry, and it's non-negotiable. When you first enter her, stay shallow. Only 1 to 2 inches of depth initially. Move slowly and gently for 20 to 30 seconds before gradually increasing depth over the next 2 to 3 minutes. Here's the biology behind it. During arousal, blood flow increases to her pelvic region. Her vaginal canal lengthens through the tenting effect, expanding by 2 to 3 inches. Natural lubrication increases, and her cervix lifts away from the vaginal opening. If you've ever gone deep and she's pulled back in discomfort, that's often because her cervix hasn't lifted yet and you're bumping into it. That's uncomfortable, sometimes painful. The slow entry gives her body time to complete this process. You're allowing blood flow to increase fully, the vaginal canal to lengthen, and ensuring adequate lubrication. Here's how to execute this. After 10 to 15 minutes of foreplay, which is essential, you're ready to begin. Penetration. Enter only 1 to 2 inches initially. Move slowly and gently, almost teasingly for 20 to 30 seconds. Pay close attention to her body language. Watch her breathing. It should deepen and become rhythmic, not shallow or held. If she's holding her breath, that's tension, meaning her body hasn't relaxed yet. Watch the muscles in her abdomen and thighs. They should be relaxing, softening. Notice her movement. Is she pulling you closer? That's a green light. Is she staying still or pulling back? Give her more time. Over the next 2 to 3 minutes, gradually increase depth, not all at once. After 30 seconds, go from 2 inches to 3 or 4. After another minute, maybe half depth. By 2.5 or 3 minutes, you should be able to go deeper without discomfort. This helps you too, especially if you're dealing with erection concerns. Starting slow removes performance pressure. You're not thinking, I need to be rock hard right now. The reduced friction is perfect for managing sensitivity. If you're more sensitive than you used to be, which is common after 50, this slow start gives you time to adjust without getting overstimulated. In my practice, this one change eliminates about 80% of complaints I hear about women not enjoying sex. It's that foundational. Everything else works exponentially better when her body is fully prepared. Now let's talk about the technique 99% of men completely ignore. The single, most powerful tool for giving her an orgasm during penetration. Grinding. Most men focus exclusively on in and out thrusting. Yes, that stimulates internal nerve endings and her G-spot, but it completely misses the most pleasure-rich part of female anatomy, the clitoris. Here's what grinding is. Instead of moving in and out, you stay deep inside her and press your body firmly against hers, creating controlled pressure on her vaginal opening and clitoral area. This isn't aggressive or rough. This is deliberate, focused contact. Let me give you an anatomy lesson that'll change everything. When most people think about the clitoris, they picture that small external nub. But here's what most men don't realize. That visible part is just the tip of a much larger structure. The clitoris has 2 long internal legs, called the crura, that extend 3 to 4 inches internally on either side of the vaginal opening. There are also vestibular bulbs, erectile tissue structures surrounding the vaginal canal. The entire clitoral structure contains over 8,000 nerve endings. The penis has about 4,000. When you grind, when you press your pubic bone against her body and create firm contact with her vaginal opening, you're not just stimulating that external nub, you're stimulating the entire clitoral structure, the internal legs, the vestibular bulbs, all 8,000 nerve endings. And here's why this matters. 75% of women cannot orgasm from penetration alone. 3 out of 4 women need clitoral stimulation to reach climax. If you're only thrusting in and out, you're missing the most important component. Here's how to grind properly. Once fully inserted, press your pubic bone firmly against hers. Maintain contact with her clitoral area. You have 3 main grinding patterns: circular grinding, keeping your pelvis pressed against hers and making small, controlled circles; rocking, grinding, a forward and backward motion like a rocking chair; and pulsing, grinding, staying deep and creating short, rhythmic pulses. Try each pattern for 30 to 60 seconds and watch her reaction. Does her breathing quicken? Does she start moving with you or pulling you closer? Those are your signals you've found the right pattern. The best position for grinding is missionary. It provides maximum clitoral contact and lets you control pressure easily. To intensify it, have her place her legs on your shoulders. This tilts her pelvis and creates even more pressure. Another excellent position is cowgirl, where she controls the grinding angle and can show you exactly what feels best. Here's a bonus. Men over 50 really appreciate. Grinding is significantly less stimulating for you than hard, fast thrusting. If you're getting close to climax too soon, switch to grinding. You keep her pleasure high while giving yourself time to cool down and regain control. It's a win for both of you. Now let's talk about a technique that amplifies pleasure through psychological principles, the teasing rhythm. When used correctly, it can double or triple the intensity of her pleasure. Here's the concept. During sex, when she's experiencing intense pleasure, her body adapts to that stimulation level. But when you temporarily take away that pleasure and reduce stimulation, you create a contrast that makes her body crave what you just took away. You're activating her desire. This is based on solid psychology. It's intermittent reinforcement, one of the most powerful forms of behavioral conditioning. When a reward is given inconsistently, taken away and given back, the brain's dopamine response is stronger than if the reward were constant. The anticipation itself becomes intensely pleasurable. Here's how this works in practice. A few minutes into penetration, after the slow entry and incorporating grinding, you shift into a harder, faster rhythm she's clearly enjoying. Her breathing picks up. She's vocalizing. Her body is responding positively. Let her experience that intensity for 10 to 15 seconds. Then pull back dramatically. Slow everything down. Enter her slowly and shallowly instead of hard and deep, or switch back to slow, gentle grinding. Completely change the intensity level. Watch what happens. She's going to squirm and try to pull you deeper, pushing back against you. She might vocalize her frustration, saying, "Don't stop," or making sounds of protest. That's when you know you've got her exactly where you want her. Her body has gone into seeking mode, craving what you just gave her. After 10 to 15 seconds of slower, teasing movement, give it back to her. Return to that deeper, faster rhythm. The pleasure hits her completely differently now. Because you took it away and made her want it, when it returns, the intensity is 2 to 3 times stronger. Her brain floods with dopamine. Her nerve endings are hypersensitive. You can repeat this pattern 3 to 4 times during roughly minutes 5 through 7 of penetration. Give intensity. Take it away. Give it back. Each time you're building her arousal higher, creating waves of pleasure that compound. But here's critical. Do not use this technique when she's approaching orgasm. If you tease her when she's on the edge of climax, 30 seconds from finishing, she's going to be genuinely frustrated and not in a good way. She might lose the orgasm entirely and have to build back up from a lower arousal level. The teasing rhythm works best in earlier and middle stages. Use it when you're building arousal, but she isn't close to finishing yet. Once she's clearly approaching orgasm, lock into a consistent rhythm and don't change anything. Let's talk about tempo. Most men find one speed and stick with it for the entire experience. Here's the problem. When you thrust at the same tempo for an extended period, it becomes repetitive. And when something becomes repetitive, our nervous system adapts to it. This is real neurology. Nerve endings adapt to consistent stimulation patterns and become less sensitive over time. Think about when you first put on clothing. You feel it on your skin distinctly. After a few minutes, you don't notice it anymore. Your nerves adapted. The same happens during sex. If you maintain the exact same rhythm for 10 minutes straight, her body starts tuning it out. That's why mixing up your tempo is crucial. You create variation so her nerve endings stay responsive and her body stays engaged rather than adapting to one pattern. When should you vary tempo? It depends on several factors. Different positions naturally lend themselves to different speeds. If you're in missionary, facing each other, kissing, that's often good for slower, sensual movement. If you're in doggy style, more athletic and primal, that might be a time for harder, faster tempo. Consider how far into the experience you are. Early on, slower tends to work better. As arousal builds, you can increase speed and intensity. But once she's clearly approaching orgasm, lock into one consistent tempo and don't vary it. The key is not overthinking it. I'm not giving you a rigid formula. The point is simply to avoid one repetitive pattern. As long as you're naturally varying your tempo based on the moment, the position, and her reactions, both of you will enjoy the experience significantly more. Now, the fifth and final technique. In many ways, this is the most important. You can know all the physical techniques, but if you're not paying attention, if you're not present and aware of how she's responding, none of it matters. This is the meta skill that makes everything else work. Paying attention means being fully present during sex, continuously aware of how her body reacts to what you're doing. You're not in your own head, thinking about work, or worrying about whether your erection is hard enough. Your complete focus is on her and the connection between you. What are you watching for? First, watch her body movements. Is she pushing back into you, meeting your thrusts, pulling you closer? Those are signs what you're doing feels good. Or is she staying still or pulling back? Those signal you need to adjust. Second, pay attention to her breathing. As she gets more turned on, breathing becomes faster and deeper. When she's getting close to orgasm, breathing might become rapid, almost panting, or she might hold her breath right before climax. Third, listen to her vocalizations, moaning, gasping, sighing. Pay attention to changes in pitch. As arousal builds, vocalizations typically increase in frequency and pitch. If she says, "Don't stop," right there, "Yes," or "Keep going," those are explicit instructions. Do exactly what you're doing and don't change anything. Fourth, watch for muscle tension. Are her hands gripping the sheets or your body? Are the muscles in her thighs tensing? Are her toes curling? Is her abdomen tightening? All signs of increasing arousal and building toward orgasm. Here's why men over 50 have a massive advantage with this skill. Younger men are in their own heads during sex, worried about performance, anxious about lasting long enough. They're having a conversation with themselves while having sex, which means they're not actually present. But you have something younger men don't: experience, patience, and the wisdom to know that sex isn't about proving anything. It's about connection and shared pleasure. That mindset naturally makes you more attentive and present, and that attentiveness is what separates mediocre sex from the kind she'll be thinking about for days. This skill also allows you to customize everything specifically for her. Every woman is different. What worked for a previous partner might not work for your current one. What works one night might not work exactly the same the next. When you're paying attention, you can adapt in real time instead of mechanically repeating the same moves. Now let me show you how these 5 techniques flow together in real time. They weave into one continuous, escalating experience. You begin with 10 to 15 minutes of foreplay. Essential. By the time you're ready for penetration, she should already be well aroused. Minutes 10 through 12. Technique 1, the slow entry. Enter slowly, staying shallow, just 1 to 2 inches at first. Move gently for 20 to 30 seconds, then gradually increase depth over 2 to 3 minutes. By the end, you can penetrate fully without discomfort. Minutes 12 through 14. Technique 2, the grinding phase. Stay deep and press your body firmly against hers. Try circular, rocking, or pulsing grinding. Pay attention to which pattern makes her breathe faster, moan, or pull you closer. When you find what works, stay with it. Minutes 14 through 16. Technique 3, the teasing rhythm. Shift into deeper, faster thrusting she's clearly enjoying. Let her feel that intensity for 10 to 15 seconds, then pull back and slow down dramatically. Watch her squirm. After 10 to 15 seconds, give her that intensity back. Repeat 3 or 4 times and watch her arousal skyrocket. Around minute 16 or 17, technique 4, varying your tempo. Naturally shift between grinding, faster thrusting, and slower deep strokes based on her responses and what feels right. You're creating variation, keeping her nerve endings engaged. Around minute 17 to 20, she starts showing clear signs of approaching orgasm. Breathing becomes rapid. Vocalizations increase and become rhythmic. Muscles tense throughout her body. She might say, "Don't stop," or "Right there." This is the critical moment. Whatever you're doing, lock it in. Don't change anything. If you can thrust at a steady rhythm while maintaining pressure on her clitoral area, you're stimulating her internally and externally simultaneously. That dual stimulation tips most women into orgasm. Within 2 to 4 minutes of consistent stimulation, most women will climax. You'll feel rhythmic muscular contractions. Her body will tense, then release. Vocalizations will peak, then soften. And throughout this entire timeline, you're applying Technique 5. Paying attention, watching, listening, feeling how she responds, adjusting based on what you observe. Now, before you apply these techniques, 3 critical mistakes can sabotage everything I just taught you. Mistake number 1, starting too fast and too hard. Men get anxious about their erection and skip the slow entry entirely. Her body isn't ready. It causes discomfort, ruins her arousal, and makes orgasm significantly less likely. What to do instead? Always begin with Technique 1. Stay shallow. Move gently. This is non-negotiable. Mistake number 2, changing your technique right before her orgasm. You're doing everything right. She's building toward climax, maybe 30 seconds away. Then you get excited and speed up or change the rhythm, and you lose it. Why this fails? Female orgasm requires consistency. Once her body locks into the pattern that's going to get her there, any change disrupts it. What to do instead? When she says, "Don't stop," she means it literally. Whatever tempo, whatever depth, maintain it exactly. Become a machine until she climaxes. Mistake number 3, ignoring the clitoris entirely. Most men focus solely on in and out thrusting. They never incorporate grinding or create clitoral contact. Why does this fail? The clitoris has twice as many nerve endings as the penis and is the primary source of sexual pleasure for most women. If you ignore it, you're ignoring the most important part. What to do instead? Incorporate Technique 2, grinding throughout the experience. Make clitoral contact a regular part of what you're doing. These 3 mistakes separate men who leave their partners satisfied from men who don't. Avoid them, and you're already ahead of 90% of men. Let me give you realistic expectations for what happens when you start using these techniques. Change takes practice. The first time you try this, don't expect perfection. Focus on mastering Technique 1 and Technique 2 first, the slow entry and grinding. Get comfortable with those before incorporating all 5. What will she notice? You're more patient, more attentive, not rushing. Even if execution isn't perfect, the experience will be better because of your increased presence. In weeks 2 and 3, add Technique 3, the teasing rhythm. By now, slow entry and grinding should feel natural. You're recognizing her arousal signals more clearly. As you add teasing, you'll see her arousal build faster and higher. The likelihood of her reaching orgasm increases significantly, while your performance anxiety decreases. By week 4 and beyond, this becomes your natural approach. You're not thinking about the steps anymore. It flows naturally. You're reading her body instinctively and adjusting without thinking. The numbers at this point? Her orgasm success rate is between 70 and 90%, compared to 30 to 40% with standard thrusting. Average timeline to orgasm drops to 6 to 10 minutes after penetration, compared to 15 to 20 plus or not at all. And intimacy frequency often increases. When sex becomes consistently satisfying, she becomes more interested in initiating. Before you use these techniques, understand one element that makes everything work even better. Emotional connection. Women are significantly more likely to enjoy sex and reach orgasm when they feel emotionally connected to their partner. Sex for women isn't purely physical, it's emotional. Her brain needs to feel safe, valued, desired, and connected for her body to fully let go. When you combine these 5 physical techniques with genuine emotional presence, you create an experience younger men simply cannot match. Your patience, attentiveness, and emotional intelligence are your superpowers after 50. Now, drop a comment below right now. Which of these 5 techniques surprised you most? Or what's your biggest challenge in the bedroom after 50? I read every comment, and your feedback guides what topics I cover in future videos. This is Dr. Lila Romano, and I'll see you in the next video.